A very warm welcome to you all to this edition of The Inside. I am Babla Jonathan. Today we are analyzing the present situation of the Republic of Cameroon. We're looking at the state of the nation and projecting into the future, looking at how we can move Cameroon from where it is today to a better situation. And for that, the Republican Union Party is proposing 12 strategic pillars for Cameroon's development over a period of 20 years. We're looking at those pillars and how they can be implemented to transform Cameroon, to improve on the living conditions of Cameroonians. Stay with us and meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is a colonel on retirement. His name, Colonel Samuel EKEMBE. He is the president of the Republican Union Party. Who is he? Let me tell you exactly who is the colonel on retirement, now politician. EKEMBE's training was forged well beyond national borders. He was admitted and followed a course at the Field Artillery School in Oklahoma, United States of America, from 1986 to 1987, and the Warminster Infantry School in Great Britain. That was in 1990. And these courses enriched him with an international perspective on security issues and became the solid background for the peace mission he executed in Darfur, that is in Sudan, from 2005 to 2006. He displayed a high sense of humanism in the execution of his mission in Darfur to the extent that he received appreciation from the hierarchy. This combination of international and field experience makes him to be seen as the man, the figure capable of understanding and responding to the complex challenges faced by the Republic of Cameroon today. Furthermore, in his childhood, Colonel EKEMBE helped his mother in running her activity as a fresh food vendor. The exercise planted in him the gene of business. Away from uniform, he has switched to entrepreneurship. Now back in his home village, Colonel EKEMBE Samuel plays the role of president of the Children and Women's Association. He is at the head of the village water project in gestation. He is seen as an exemplary servant who has dedicated his life to serve his nation. For over 33 years, he has served the nation through the Cameroon Army, and he embarks in party leadership. He has been elected the national president of the Republican Union Party. That's the man we are receiving today in this edition of The Inside. We welcome to the program, Mr. President.
Thank you.
So that's the colonel or president?
Colonel or president? I think now call me president.
All right. Mr. President, take us through the transition from a soldier in the National Armed Forces who's moved through the ranks to the high rank of colonel to a political party leader.
Thank you for the question. People are surprised and are asking themselves how a military can go and join politics. Maybe they have never seen that before. I want to tell you that in the military, our mission is to defend the country, to defend the population, and in politics, we have to defend the population. But the method you are using in the army is different from that you are using in politics, but the mission is the same.
The mission is the same. What motivated this transition? Were you nursing these while you were still in the National Armed Forces?
Joining the armed forces requires a sense of nationalism. you must be a patriot in your heart before joining the army, because you choose to join the army knowing that you can die anywhere, anytime, and you choose to do it. So, as I joined the army, I can say if you are not a patriot, you cannot join the army. And as a patriot, I have now the duty to help the population from suffering, and I see that the mission I had in the army, I can continue it in the politics.
Right. Tell us a little bit. Is it easy to be a soldier, to take that decision, to be a soldier with the understanding that you've just given to us now, that it is a sacrificial assignment? It is an assignment that can demand your life at one point while you're defending the nation, while you're fighting for the nation. Is it easy? Was it easy for you to take that decision and moving through the ranks right up to the point of colonel?
When you do your job in the army, you are fully committed to what you are doing. As far as my mission was to defend the country, I was focused on that mission. And now, when I retired from the army, I wanted to continue to serve my country, and I noticed that in politics, I could bring my contribution to alleviate the suffering of the people. That's why I cannot say it was a transition, because the mission in the army and the mission in politics are the same.
Just that the tools are different. The ways of going about the mission are different.
Yes.
Now, what does it require for a soldier to become not just a politician, but a political party leader? Because there are other soldiers who are still in service, who may be playing some politics as maybe militants, but not party leadership. Now, what does it require for a soldier who's gone on retirement like you to become actively involved in political leadership?
I think that as a military, you cannot do politics when you are on duty. Now, on retirement, officers have 3 years that they call a reserve. During those 3 years, they can call you up at any time to join the army for a specific reason. You have to come back and do what you're asked to do. After those 3 years, you are free from all duties, and you can now do what you want to. Some people go and create their farms. Others maybe
get into business.
And I choose not to follow those ways, but to bring my contribution to the people. That's why I joined the politics.
All right. I read a while ago that in your early childhood, you had a business mindset. In your childhood, you helped your mother in running her activity as a fresh food vendor. And this exercise planted in you the gene of business. But you decided not to go the business way, but to...
What I'm doing in politics is business. Political business. Business does not mean material income. Business is an ideology.
It's not all about selling and buying.
No, that is the visual, that is what I can say, that is action, but that is not your conviction. Your conviction is to create conditions to develop activities. And now in politics, we are developing political activities. That is business. But not material business. But through this political business, we can develop Cameroon. We can create industries. We can manage all kinds of things through political activities. That is more than business, I can say.
Managing public affairs.
Yeah.
Of course. So now, when you decided to become a political party leader, what is that one thing that you wanted or you want to achieve that brought you to that position of saying, okay, I'm going to be a political party leader to achieve this?
I noticed that there was too much injustice in Cameroon. I see women in the market. I saw that people were suffering too much. And I noticed that I had to do something. Fight against injustice. Promote peace and make people happy by changing the way people run this country. And I think that with the military discipline, with the way we live in the military, I think that bringing some aspects in civilian area, we can bring something positive in running this country.
In governance. Okay. Before we proceed to look at the current situation of the country, which you start to talk about when you mentioned the way the country is governed. As a military officer, in many parts of Africa, when we see a military officer at a high position of leadership in politics, like head of state, we see that often comes through a particular path, coup d'etat. But here, you want to make it different. I'm sure that your ambition is not limited to, leadership within a given community or a given part of the country, but goes right up to the hem of the nation. You certainly aspire to become the head of the state, this country, one day. And you have chosen a path that is different from what some of your peers choose in other parts of Africa, which often come with a lot of instability, violence, and things like that.
You can call my choice innovation. Innovation because in the military mind, we think that we need to use force. We need to be violent to solve problems. I want people to know that before being a soldier, we are intellectuals. And we are citizens like all Cameroonians. We experience disorder in some countries. We went there and I noticed myself that coup d'etat is not the best way to solve problems. Because I will not like to see Cameroonians dead, so on, destroyed, and so on, destructions everywhere. I need the military to understand that when you want to participate, you want to bring your contribution to the development of your country, when you are off duty, you are no longer on contract with the army, you can now come and respect the law, follow the regulations, and go to the competitions according to the law.
Right. That's very interesting now. When you look at the fact that you're working for the nation, you're fighting for the nation, is there any difference from what you're doing in the military when you were defending the nation with a gun? Now you want to defend the nation with words and actions that have nothing to do with that.
I want to say that defending the nation in the army and defending the nation in the politics, the goal is the same. Protect people, protect the nation, and create conditions of development in peace. In the army, that protection, you use guns and you use essentially force to do your job. In politics, you use your head, you use your intelligence. And the main difference is that in politics, you do not need to use guns. In military, you use guns and your head, and in politics, you must use your head and only your head.
I'm sure you must have heard some Cameroonians saying that this country needs to be governed by soldiers. When they look at deaths on the streets everywhere, in the city of Douala, garbage everywhere on the streets, people throwing garbage just everywhere, indiscriminately. And they go without anybody asking them, why did you throw a piece of paper here? Why did you throw the peelings of bananas here? And looking at what looks like a kind of cacophony, kind of indescribable disorder in the country. You must have heard some Cameroonians say, no, we need a soldier to lead this country so that this will not happen. When you hear that, does that move you and encourage you to press forward? Not in a coup d'etat, but in a political struggle to lead this nation with the discipline of the army.
Thank you for the
Not
question.
with an iron fist anyway, but with the discipline.
What you mentioned is already the answer to your preoccupation. All people in Cameroon, regardless background, need discipline. People need themselves to be disciplined. Because you see, when somebody does something and you say, why are you doing this? And they tell you, what is right in this country? I'm free to do what I like. That's why we must say that in Cameroon we need discipline, we need order, and we need peace. And when people think they are not accountable of what they are doing, they will do what they like. And when somebody does something, he knows that he is doing bad, but he knows that nobody will do anything in order not to do what he's doing. That's why we need discipline, we need order, and somebody from the military can implement discipline and order. I think that my background in the army was the main aspect that brought the Republican Union Party to choose me as the leader, because they knew that somebody from the military can correct many misbehavior of Cameroonians.
The party has been existing for close to 3 years, and it was during recent, I don't know, was it recently that you were chosen to lead the party?
I was elected in 2025, 19 April 2025 as the national president of the Republican Union Party. Yes, that's 1 year ago, and we are now working.
All right, you're certainly looking forward to the municipal and legislative elections coming up next.
Yeah, of course, because when you are engaged in politics, your main objective is to go to elections. So incoming elections, local elections, the Republican Union will take part in those elections.
All right, how are you preparing for that? Are you already doing some groundwork?
Oh, since we are at work, we are working, and we are going to the competition.
All right. Colonel EKEMBE, I hope I got your name right. I hope I didn't mispronounce your name. EKEMBE, right?
EKEMBE, yeah.
Colonel EKEMBE Samuel. Mm-hmm. Give us your perspective of the current situation of Cameroon.
It's very difficult because if you have just one aspect or two or three, you can say, okay, this is good, this is bad. The current situation is, as you see yourself, there is something which is not correct. Because after the presidential election, we expected a reshuffle of the government. We expected new faces, new responsibilities after the result of that election. Up to now, there is nothing. And people are waiting. They are still waiting, and it looks like something is not going well in this country for the moment.
When you look at, earlier you were talking about the way the country is governed, and you seem not to be okay with the way things are happening, the way public affairs are managed in this country, and the current situation of Cameroonians, which is quite disturbing, with many Cameroonians who are far below the poverty line, unable to afford 3 square meals a day, unable to access health care, unable to, or finding a lot of difficulties in sending their children to school, and all of that.
You see, by treating people correctly, by taking fair decisions, we will distribute what I can say. salaries, when you see civil servants, the salaries are not that what they should be. And we do not have industries in order to give to employment to youth. We are not creating conditions for a better life in this country. We must focus on creating conditions for the people to live better. And I do not see that those actions for the moment.
You do not see that for the moment, and that is what you are looking forward to with the 12 pillars actually that the Republican Union is proposing as a strategy to move Cameroon, to transform Cameroon within a period of 20 years. But before we get into that, I want to ask you one question which many Cameroonians will be asking. Colonel EKEMBE somewhere is a soldier. He may not be on duty anymore, but he remains a soldier in the spirit, in the soul. He is still a soldier. What do you tell Cameroonians who may be concerned, who may be skeptical that if this man comes to power, we're going to be having situations where people will be flocked on the streets. People will be handled with the iron hand. People's rights will be curtailed. People will not be allowed to speak freely. Because these are some of the characteristics of military leadership, notably the military leadership, particularly the one that comes through the coup d'etat. Even though we can see some differences in Burkina Faso and some of the Sahel nations today, we can see some of those differences even in neighboring Gabon, where we have an officer who also stepped away to become the leader of the nation, doing quite well.
I will ask the Cameroonian people not to be afraid. Not to be afraid. To have confidence in people who are really committed to the well-being of the population. I think that being from the military, because we care too much. We are there to protect, and that sense of protection must bring confidence to the people that we are there to protect them. Not if you are in power and you use power to protect people, that is a positive way of doing things. If you use power for your own benefit, you are on the wrong way. And I think that Cameroonians should trust the military. They should trust people from the military, because our goal is to solve their problem and to change what is wrong now into positive.
All right, I want us to take a short break. Time for us to go to the newsstands, and we're looking at what the newspapers reported this week. This is the press review. We'll be right back in a moment. The Post Insecurity, high cost of living, dry taps, dark night haunt Bamenda. The paper reports that with petrol now selling at 1,000 francs CFA per litre and a 12.5 kilogram cylinder of cooking gas costing around 10,000 francs CFA, prolonged water shortages, persistent power cuts, and an increase in kidnappings. Many residents of Cameroon's northwest regional capital say daily life has become a struggle for survival. In another article, the paper writes, Cameroon launches domestic and international sweeps to recover billions in lost gold revenue. The Cameroon government is launching domestic and international tax and custom recovery operations to reclaim hundreds of billions of francs CFA lost to gold smuggling and underreported exports between 2023 and 2025. The Horizon, urging Constitutional Council to declare vacancy at presidency. Ben Aki disagrees with Ninche, says we have an electoral suspense with the legitimate president in exile. Cameroon Tribune reports government's fight against disorder reportedly masterminded by some civil society organizations in Cameroon. And the Minister of Territorial Administration Atanganji Paul has banned civil society organizations from keeping and using uniforms and other gadgets linked to the National Armed Forces and the United Nations. The Guardian Post, mining sector enters new phase as major projects commence production. According to the paper, government is also restructuring the gold sector to boost revenue, traceability, and transparency. The Insider reports that Youth Affairs and Civic Education Minister Monona Futso has launched the 22nd edition of the annual Free 8 Holidays campaign, championed by First Lady Shantobia. And according to the paper, this year, organizers aim to reach 9 million young people, conduct 40,000 health screenings for 4 diseases, and distribute thousands of condoms to encourage safe sex. Daily Voice, Nightfall in Com, 15th King missing. In Com, a fawn does not die. He disappears, and the palace goes quiet while the kingdom waits to be told what comes next. And the silence has now settled over the confundum following the disappearance of His Royal Majesty Fon Clemency II. In the same vein, the Observer says, Com Kingdom enters mourning as 15th monarch goes missing. And the Horizon tells its readers that the new phone of Com has been found. His name, Fon Joseph Guinea. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. We are still with our guest, Colonel Samuel EKEMBE, Colonel in retirement, now National President of Republican Union Party. And we are now looking at the 12-pillar strategy proposed by the Republican Union to transform Cameroon within a period of 20 years. We're looking at the feasibility and how that can be done, the results that can be achieved in terms of improvement of the living conditions of Cameroonians. Can you tell us now, the first point is governance and strong institutions. What do you put in this pillar? Governance and strong institutions.
In governance, we mean leadership. People who are in charge, they must take all actions according to the law. That is governance. If you are governing for your own interest, you are on the wrong. And we need all charged to take action and to behave according to the law and regulations.
And about strong institutions, are you saying that the institutions that we have now are weak?
They are weak because everybody does what he likes. He does not feel accountable for the action he is taking. And if they give you instructions and you think that you are free to do what you like without following those instructions, that is, we cannot say that we have strong institutions. When orders are given, they must be followed without interpretation.
Right. Are you referring to the institutions like Parliament, the lower and upper houses of Parliament, the judiciary, our courts, and the other institutions, governmental institutions, and so on? Are you referring to all of that?
All institutions have the same problem because people who are in charge of those institutions are making decisions not based on regulations and law. And by doing so, they are weakening the institutions and the governance of this country.
So it tends to look as if we instead have strong men and not strong institutions. Strong men who overrule, override the laws, and
they use their position to impose their views, regardless to what the regulations on the law states. That's why I say all civil servants, regardless their position, must act according to law and regulations.
So what you're saying is that we need strong institutions and not strong men in Cameroon.
We need strong institutions. And if we have strong institutions, we will have strong men. It's better to have strong men with strong institutions rather than having strong men without strong institutions.
Right. Let's go to the second pillar, development of strategic infrastructure. What exactly are you talking about in this pillar, development of strategic infrastructure?
When we want to fight, we want to give jobs to our young children in this country. We must create conditions to give better job and give that better job to large quantity, large population. And if we see in our environment, we can create conditions in which we can give job to many Cameroonians. And we must choose the areas in which we can implement those industries in order to create jobs.
And to create those industries, or to have the existing ones running in full capacity and meeting their objectives, there are critical infrastructures that must be in place. Road infrastructures, electricity supply infrastructures,
Absolutely.
water supply infrastructures. What are you thinking to do, or what are you saying should be done with these critical infrastructures in order to transform the country? And what are you thinking to do within that period of 20 years?
You see, they say when you build a road, development will follow. We must build roads in order to enable producers to move their goods around, go to the market, and so on. If we talk about industry, you cannot have industry without energy because we work with machines. You cannot run machines without energy. And we need water, potable water for populations, because if we do not have potable water, you will not have sanitary conditions for the population. So all those are linked, and I think that we must build roads, have energy, have water, and then they will support now the industrialization, and that industrialization will give jobs to Cameroonians.
The fourth pillar is human character on quality education. Specifically about education, the country's educational system as of now is qualified by many educationists, like Dr. Nick Wayne. If you've heard him, he's been talking pretty much about this. He's qualified as archaic and does not meet the exigencies of this era because it is focused more on theory than practical, than solution-oriented. It is not solution-oriented. That's why we have a lot of people graduating from higher institutions of learning and simply seeking or searching for jobs everywhere because they have not been trained to be job creators, but to be job seekers. And a lot of them also graduate with good grades, but practically speaking, they are not up to those good grades. What should be done in this perspective as far as this pillar of human capital and quality education? That word quality is very important in that.
We cannot train people without stating the objectives of that training. We must train people to be able to do specific jobs. If we go to the forestry area, we have wood coming out of our forest every day. We have to transform that wood, and we need to train Cameroonians in order to handle that activity. And this is valuable for all sectors. If you go to mining, you cannot say you will extract gold and not having people trained in that area. We need engineers to work in our industries. We cannot always call foreigners to come and do all the job for us. When you go to the market, you will not see goods produced in Cameroon. All publicity we are making, we are showing goods coming from other countries. Is it that we are not able to do that here in Cameroon? So we need to emphasize on research. Cameroon must conduct research in order to create our own industry. And if we do not do that, we will be here only to sell goods coming from abroad.
Right. The Ministry of Mines and other government authorities, for example, that imposed on the foreign companies that are coming to carry out mineral exploration, a quota of at least 50% of the employees must be Cameroonians. But there's need to train many more Cameroonians who can pick up those responsibilities, who can even carry on the exploration and exploitation without necessarily having need to bring in foreign companies, even though it demands quite a lot in terms of money to be able to carry on some of those activities. Now, and let's go to the health and social protection sector. The fifth pillar of the strategy proposed by your party, the Republican Union, is guarantee universal access to health, quality health services. Guarantee universal access to quality health services. As we speak now, quality health services is more or less an ostentatious good, so to speak, for many Cameroonians who are unable to access healthcare, talk less of quality healthcare, with several parts of the country with no hospitals. In some areas, the health centers are abandoned, constructed and abandoned in the bushes. In some areas, they have to travel long distances in able to access healthcare. What are you saying would be done in this particular domain of quality healthcare services?
We must first map the country, see where we have healthcare infrastructure and where the areas where we do not have healthcare infrastructure. Now, we must define which kind of material will accompany those infrastructures. It's not just that you build an empty house and you say this is a health center. You must first define the kind of machine in the health center before building that health center.
Making a feasibility studies of the health needs of the people in the community.
Absolutely. You cannot just, when you say that you have health centers that are empty in the bush, because there was, maybe sometimes there was even no need to build that health center there. And when you build a health center and it's in the bush, you can question yourself, how did you take that decision? We must go through a process in order to make decisions. Yes.
In order to make decisions that will meet the needs of the people.
Absolutely.
Not making decisions from Yaoundé and then
you do not even know the reality on the field.
On the field, right. So you're talking about strengthening primary healthcare system, developing universal health coverage, and implementing social safety nets for vulnerable populations. About the universal health coverage, there is something like that which the government has been trying to implement for some years now, but apparently seems not to be working.
You see, when we want to give free medication to people, you must first know where to take money to carry that mission. If you do not have financial means, you cannot.
But in other countries, even African countries, healthcare is free. Education is free. From nursery to university, free. And at one time in Cameroon, under the reign of the first president, Amadou Ahidjo, university education, I think so, was free. They were paying. They were giving some stipend to students at the level of the universities. Now it's completely different. It is even more expensive even to train a child in nursery school today.
I think officially education is free in Cameroon. Officially, education is free. But the reality on the field is...
For primary?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Because when you go to public schools, they will not ask you to pay. They will talk about
PTA, Parent Teachers Association fees.
But they are not telling you that there is an official amount that we should pay. In theory, they are not paying the school fees.
But in practical, that is
the reality is different.
It's a different story.
Yes.
Let's now go to the sixth pillar, modern agriculture and food security. Agriculture is the backbone of the economy of this country.
Absolutely.
But not much is really invested in agriculture. For example, we have rice being produced in the northwest region, but the quantity is very limited, very far below national demand. We have rice being produced in Semri, in the northern parts of the country. And we have rice being produced in Tonga. But all of that put together, the quantity produced is still far below demand. And the cost is very much expensive compared to imported rice. And we are still importing huge quantities of rice from Thailand, from India, and so on. We're importing palm oil, even palm oil from neighboring Gabon. We're importing quite a lot of things, wheat and so on. Whereas we have the potential, we have the soil, we have the climate, we have water, we have even the human resource. That which is not put to use to reverse this trend. And you're talking now about modern agriculture and food security. What exactly are you referring to?
You notice that for the moment we are not doing modern agriculture. We are doing it on paper, but on the field, we are not doing modern agriculture.
And we're talking about second generation agriculture.
That is books. When you want to do modern agriculture, you first need very large areas. You need a mechanized agriculture. You need less people to produce more. And at the end of that process, you need to transform what you produce. And you must take all measures to reach that goal. Now, when you visit a village, you bring machetes and wheelbarrows and so on, and say you are encouraging people to work. Which kind of agriculture are you doing? We must go step by step. If we want to do modern agriculture, we must first arrange, take measures all to do modern agriculture. For the moment, we are not doing modern agriculture.
Right. And we have people like Professor Victor Barker of the ICT University, who is now coming in with technology in agriculture, using robots and some machines to be able to improve on quality and quantity of production, of agricultural production. I think that those are some of the things that we should be looking at. Now, on the seventh point, you're talking about sustainable management of natural resources. and the environment. And the 8th point, you're talking about promotion of the private sector and entrepreneurship. Tell us more about what you think should be done in these two aspects. Natural management of our natural resources and the environment, and of course, promoting the private sector. Because much of what is done in the environment, much of what is done in terms of the natural resources, for example, the extraction of minerals and so on, is done by private companies.
We need to make sure exploitation of wood, for example. Every day we see trucks, many trucks, carrying wood and at a very large scale. We can ask ourselves, at this scale, what will be left in the near future? They are destroying our forest. And in the mining sector, we do not have statistics. We do not know what we produce. We do not know the destination of what we are producing. And we are not transforming those products locally. When we take wood, for example, we do not need to send our raw material abroad without transforming even parts in this country. We are not creating jobs. And we need to look at those sectors, see how to protect our environment and how to benefit from the exploitation of those resources.
And that is, of course, the essence of the restructuring of the mining sector, for example. The Minister of Mines was explaining this in a press conference with the Minister of Communication, talking about the restructuring of the mining sector to ensure what you're saying, to ensure that there is a traceability of what is produced and how it is exported, especially within the context of gold trafficking, which the head of state has ordered an investigation into that to ensure that what is exported benefits the country in terms of taxation, in terms of income that's supposed to come to the state and so on. And then the transformation of some of our minerals like limestone to clinker, cement, and so on, and then iron to iron billets that can be used by the companies who are here, like Alucam and some others, and that should be enhanced. I guess that's what you're talking about. And then the promotion of the private sector and entrepreneurship. Private sector and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is something that is not yet very much embraced by many Cameroonians. Many Cameroonians are still having the mindset of white-collar jobs. White-collar jobs. And we have the entrepreneurial spirit in the West. In the West, where we really have people who grow up with that idea of creating companies, creating economic activities here and there. But in a global perspective, entrepreneurship is not yet really embraced by many Cameroonians. Even in the educational system, entrepreneurship is not occupying the pride of place.
That is because Cameroonians see the aim is to gain too much money, large amount of money. They are, in their mind, they think only millions when they want to do business. They are not growing in business. They are not starting from the bottom and go up. When you want to do something, do what you like to do. Do it very well, and people will be interested in what you are doing. And you will grow step by step. And one day, you will be a good entrepreneur because you started from basic needs.
And more importantly, with a solution mindset, with a solution-oriented perspective of doing business, not just to make money, but to solve solutions in the society.
Solve problems. As you are solving problems, as you are doing very well what you intend to do, people will be interested and the demand will grow.
Increase.
Yes,
because you're providing solution to the people, to their needs, and so on. Right. Quickly, let's take some interviews now. When we come back, we'll wrap up with the 4 remaining pillars of the 12-pillar strategy proposed by the Republican Union Party. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Are you suffering? Concerning the road, it's too bad. It's bad. It's bad. From my fort to half mile to Batoke, there's no way.
You see, have my boater engineering, that other line like that. Everywhere is pothole. So we have a good road in there.
My brother, I have a very bad road. Where you go through my 16 now, from my 16 to Munya, is hell. Then from Munya to Kupa, it's not easy. Too much of potholes. When you want to do repairs, they don't do good repairs. You can imagine they will take a highway road, begin to put that cement. Is that the work road?
The other day, one car dodged at my 8 Moliwe. One Prado hit our boss because of roads. The Prado dodged a hole because of road.
I don't even like traveling because of the road. Anytime I think of traveling, like, I feel bad because of the potholes, especially at the Ombe roads. Yes. When I was coming back, one time I went to Pengene, one car had an accident just because of pothole. The cars were trying to dodge the potholes. Yes.
Right, you're welcome back. Mr. President, tell us more about the regional integration and economic diplomacy. What do you put in that pillar? Regional integration and economic diplomacy.
See, regional integration, we must sell what we produce here in neighboring countries. We must create conditions to interact. What we produce in Cameroon must benefit Gabon and Central African Republic, and what is produced in those countries must benefit Cameroon. So people will produce more because they can sell very large areas, and they will be encouraged to produce more. Yes, because if you produce only in Cameroon and your market is only in Cameroon, you will not produce more because your area is restricted. Yes. So we need to go to neighboring countries and see how to sell our product there.
I think that's a very critical point because in the present state of affairs, the level of trade between African nations is far below the level of trade between Africa and other continents. Cameroon trades much with other countries like China than neighboring Nigeria, which is a vast market of more than 200 million inhabitants. So I think this policy is something that would really be beneficial if the level of trade, for example, between Cameroon and Nigeria is stepped up. The production or the result would be much more beneficial than trading with far-off nations. And this will also go a long way to increase or step up integration among African nations. I guess that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, because if you trade with Nigeria, you need to build roads between Cameroon and Nigeria. You will do the same with Equatorial Guinea, you will do the same with Gabon and Central African Republic.
Like the bridge connecting Cameroon and Calabar, Nigeria.
You see, that when building roads, we are developing all those areas. And you see that when we sell goods to China, we are not building roads, but by connecting our countries, we are developing our countries by doing business inside.
And fostering regional integration.
Absolutely.
Right. The 10th point is territorial planning and urban development. Tell us more about this.
You see, in Cameroon, the administrative organization, you see people of the same tribes, of the same culture, divided in between 2 or 3 regions. We need to put people of the same culture in the same administrative regions in Cameroon. And
we have, for example, the Bassa running through from the center, parts of Nyankele, through the littoral to part of the southwest, cutting across 3 regions.
We need to look at that closely. Now, the way people occupy land in villages and so on, when you have one person and they tell you he's the owner of 400 hectares in a village, there is something wrong. There is something wrong.
What's wrong?
What's wrong is that if you go and buy a village, are we protecting those populations? When you buy a village, it's because people there are poor. And when you bring money, they just take money without thinking that they have children, they will have grandchildren, and so on. So we are creating conditions of disorder in the future.
And poverty.
Yeah, because
in some cases, some of the people are forced out of the lands they have occupied for several years, and some given peanuts, some not even given anything.
Absolutely. We need to look at land management in Cameroon. It's very important.
The problem of land expropriation, creating social tension in different parts of the country. All right, let's proceed to culture, arts, and tourism. This is the 11th pillar of your strategy, the strategy proposed by your political party. When you talk about culture, art, and tourism, this is an element. For example, let me take culture. That is creating divisions among Cameroonians. That is dividing many Cameroonians today along cultural lines, along tribal lines, along Anglophone culture, Anglo-Saxon culture, and all of that. What do you intend to do with this, which in reality should be an advantage for us? We should rather be a resource for us to grow, to be united, to be stronger. But some of these things are instead dividing us.
We are the one creating divisions. Everybody must be proud of his origin. You have not chosen to be from north or east or south. You was just born there. You must be proud of your origin. And being proud of...
Can you come again? You were just born there.
Yeah. You did not choose to be born there. Yes. Did you made a choice to be born somewhere?
Not at all. No one does.
So, we must protect each culture. We must develop all cultures. And these cultures put together, everyone must benefit from the experience of others.
And not try to erode some cultures, not try to assimilate some cultures.
That is what we must
accept those that are repugnant to natural law, accept those that do not agree with natural law, human rights, things like female genital mutilation, which is something that is detrimental to the health and life of women, and other cultures like breast ironing and things like that. But apart from these ones that that are not favorable, that are not good for human health, for human existence, for community, apart from these ones, there shouldn't be attempts to erode some cultures, to assimilate some cultures.
Not at all, because when we build roads, people working, using those roads will not be selected as coming from north or east or south. That road will be used by all Cameroonians. When we do something, I say we must be proud of our origin. If you tell me that you are not going to your village, I will say there is something wrong. Because if you are not interested in your village affairs, will you be interested in Cameroon's affairs? I go to your village and I see your mother's kitchen, which is already maybe broken, destroyed, and you are in town drinking alcohol and so on, enjoying yourself. You are not a good Cameroonian. You must be proud of your village. You must bring your contribution in the development of your village. You start from there before contributing to the development of Cameroon.
Now, about arts and tourism, we have a lot of artistic potential in Cameroon, and we have a lot of tourist potentials in Cameroon, a lot of tourist sites around the country, but which are not exploited. What should be done about that with regards to this pillar of your strategy?
Once we have identified touristic sites, we must make sure tourists can go to those sites on good roads. We must build roads to those sites. It's not just that we say we have a touristic site somewhere and you cannot reach that touristic site. We have to do something in order to attract people to go and visit.
And make those sites economically viable,
exactly,
profitable for the country.
Yes.
Following the publication of the 2023 Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative 80 report, which highlighted discrepancies between the quantities of gold declared and those exported from Cameroon, the government has introduced a series of measures to address the shortcomings that led to the significant loss in tax and custom revenue. The issue is not the loss of gold belonging directly to the state, but rather the loss of revenue that Cameroon should have collected had the gold been legally declared and exported. In practical terms, illegal gold exports and smuggling deprived the state of taxes and custom duties which, under the law, must be assessed and collected at the source before exportation. As part of the restructuring and clean up of the gold sector led by the government through the Ministry of Mines, Industry and Technological Development, tax and custom reassessment operations are being launched both within Cameroon and abroad. The objective is to recover outstanding amounts owed the state by the operators concerned during the 2023-2025 financial year. The domestic recovery operation, scheduled to begin on August 1st, 2026, will be conducted by a joint team comprising representatives of the National Mining Company, SONAMIN, the Directorate General of Taxation, and the Directorate General of Customs. It will focus on recovering unpaid taxes and duties resulting from understated production declarations and failure to declare gold output. These irregularities led to either the non-collection or insufficient collection of the state dues by SONAMIN from companies operating in Cameroon. Two categories of operators have been identified. The first consists of 51 companies that physically extracted gold using methods traditionally practiced on mining sites but largely understated their production declarations. The second category, recently identified by the Ministry of Mines, Industry and Technological Development during field inspections, comprised of 33 sites using new gold extraction technologies whose production had never been declared and from which no taxes or dues had been collected. The various reassessment operations are expected to enable the state to recover at least 300 billion francs CFA in the very short term. This amount will more than offset the estimated 165 billion francs CFA in revenue losses highlighted in the 2023 80 report. The external recovery operation will be based on information obtained from abroad. In collaboration with the government of the United Arab Emirates, the Cameroonian authorities intend to identify all individuals and legal entities that exported gold from Cameroon between 2023 and 2026. The aim is to recover outstanding tax and custom revenues estimated at several hundreds of billions of francs CFA. The domestic and international tax and custom revenue operations will enable the state not only to recover revenue lost in previous years, but also to establish a more effective and sustainable collection system for the future. The new mechanism introduced to improve control over gold production includes the engagement of an independent international expert firm to assess production levels as well as the direct collection of taxes and custom dues at mining sites by the competent tax and custom administrations working alongside SONAMIN. The implementation of these reforms is expected to strengthen traceability, improve transparency, and prevent future discrepancies between declared production and exported quantities. Under the new system, all individuals and companies exporting gold will be required to settle all taxes, custom duties, and other amounts owed to the state before any export operation is authorized.
Let's wrap up with security and stability. This is another crucial element, which is very delicate. Today, one of the major threats to the unity and stability of the country is the security problem in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And we also have the external invasion of Boko Haram in the far north region of the country, and sometimes we have issues of rebels from the Basilica rebels in the Central African Republic making incursions into the east region of our country. And beyond these major security issues, there are security problems all across the country, from the major urban centers to the hinterlands. There are security issues, banditry, high crime, all across the place. And these are elements that go a long way to threaten the stability of the nation. In this pillar of security and stability, what are you suggesting should be done about these issues?
You mentioned Boko Haram as external threat because people acting in Boko Haram are supposed not to be Cameroonians. In Northwest and Southwest, these are our brothers and sisters. If there is a problem somewhere, we need to address the roots of that problem. And we do not have a problem that cannot be solved. We suggest that to solve Northwest and Southwest problem, we need to sit down and see exactly what is in common. And through negotiations, we will reach a solution. That is not that the solution will be satisfying for all parties, but if we all need peace, we will reach a solution.
You can make some compromise.
Absolutely.
To reach a point of agreement.
Absolutely. Because when you are fighting, it's very difficult to fight in your family than fighting somebody coming from outside. We need to sit down and talk. But in our point of view, when we want peace, everybody should go to peace. But if you want peace and the other party does not want peace, what will you do?
It becomes very difficult.
Difficult. We are saying in a Republican Union that we want peace. But if the other party does not want peace, we will fight. Because we need Cameroonians to live in peace. If it's through disorder and so on, we have the tools to rectify the situation.
But has fighting ever solved any problem?
I think that all Cameroonians need peace. And you must understand that there is no problem between Anglophones and Francophones. Because when you walk Douala, Yaoundé, Melon, Chang, you will see that people having problems in Anglophone areas are coming to Francophone zones, and they have no problem there.
Of course, it has never been a problem between Francophones and non-Francophones, but a problem of a segment of the country against the leadership.
There is. We need to address the roots of the problem. But we are not talking about the problem between Anglophones and Francophones.
No, that should be very, very clear, because that will give another connotation that is far away from what is happening there. And because many of us, we are everywhere. Anglophones are everywhere, just like Francophones are everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there shouldn't be any confusion about that.
Absolutely.
All right, now maybe we'll wrap up with general security issues in our towns and cities, where we have robbery in the day, in the night. People are killed. In some of those circumstances, we have things like drug consumption that is creating a lot of problems within the communities. You must have seen a lot of people in the southwest region of the country recently, women taking to the streets to say no to drug consumption and so on and so forth.
The fight must be a collective one, because when somebody takes drugs, hard drugs, as we say, he will go and kill. He will he will kill because he has consumed drugs.
Under the influence of the drugs.
Yes. So we must fight drug consumption. By fighting drug consumption, we are reducing
insecurity.
And you see that young children and so on are murdered this time, and we are talking everywhere. They have killed the Somali girl, they have killed a child, they have killed. We need to take strong measures in order to punish those people. Yes.
Right. We've come to the end of this conversation. Let me urge you to go through the reflection notebook of Colonel Samuel EKEMBE, National Chairman of the Republican Union. You have in this book the 12 pillars for transforming Cameroon in 20 years. Maybe I should ask you, why 20 years?
20 years because this is a projection. You must plan for a short period and a long period. This is not linked to my person. This is the party, the Republican Union Party. This is the actions to be taken in the next 20 years. If I'm not there tomorrow, somebody else will continue the mission. And this is a projection, and we follow what we need to do.
Thank you so much for accepting to have this conversation with us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today. God bless Cameroon. Goodbye.